Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the second edition of the 1138 Nightly News, of course, right here on channel1138.com. This is a show where we, 3 times a week, take all the news from across the galaxy, every site across the internet. We run around, we get it, we collect it all, and put a little nice bite-sized slot for you to consume, of course, on the channel, of course, later on YouTube. But before we get started, of course, I want to introduce myself. My name is Ben Hart, and you may hear my voice on the Star Wars Underworld podcast and the Intergalactic Peace Coalition podcast, just to name a couple. And, of course, with me is my good friend and co-host for tonight, Mr. Thomas Bradshaw. Thomas, how you doing?
I'm doing fairly well this evening, my good friend. It's been a pretty busy day, and I'm looking forward to unwinding and chatting to our listeners. How about yourself, my friend?
I am doing, of course, great. And, we've got this new show going, and it's really been a lot of fun, giving you guys something new and something different, and giving you guys the news, because there's so much stuff happening in the world, and you've got every possible franchise imaginable. And here on Channel 1138, we want to take you through all of it and cover all of it. And no matter what you're interested in, we hope we cover it for you. And, of course, but before we get started, I guess I should run through this week's. Of course, we got big movies coming out all the time, seems like, but especially this weekend, we've got some big names heading to the box office. Of course, first off, we got The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise, Sofia Boutella, and Jake Johnson. That one's getting some fairly good reviews. Who knows? It might actually be good. It Comes at Night, starring Joel Edgerton, Riley Keough, and Christopher Abbott. And then finally, there is Megan Levy, starring Kate Mara, Eddie Falco, and Raymond Rodriguez. So, got a pretty stacked office. Plus, we've got Wonder Woman, we've got Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, and a bunch of others that are hitting the box office. So yeah, any of these interest you, Thomas?
I can't help but be just a little bit interested in The Mummy. And it's a little bit funny beyond that. When most people think about The Mummy and its current, this reboot that's coming up, I have a feeling that a lot of them are thinking back towards the previous movies they had years back. Right. For me, and wasn't there like a television series at one point? But anyway, for me, what comes to mind is there was like a cartoon. It only ran for a couple years, I think. I think it was a Kids WB 17 something like that.
Right, that sounds right.
And I was always the Saturday morning cartoons kind of kid. So
oh yeah.
That's totally. That's what comes to my mind, and I might just have to revisit that little franchise a little bit, catch this reboot when it comes out. How about yourself, Ben? You got any feelings on it?
Yeah, The Mummy. I don't know how to feel about it, because it's not just The Mummy. It is a lot of stuff happening. You've got the big new Universal's Dark Universe that this is kicking off. So even if The Mummy is not what you're thinking or is not quite your taste, you got a lot of other movies coming out, and we'll get to that later in the show, because there's a lot of big news coming out for that, of course, and so that's going to be awesome. But sticking with, of course, I just mentioned Wonder Woman. We got a big, semi-big announcement for that. But little news for that. So, according to several sources, we've heard that apparently Patty Jenkins, who directed Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman is just blowing up the box office. Even if any of these other movies do really, really good, Wonder Woman could still break it and could come out on top this weekend. And of course, we'll give you the stats later in the week when those come out. But apparently, Patty Jenkins is not signed on to do Wonder Woman 2, which is interesting. This is a new report, says a $103.3 million domestic opening usually means a sequel is a no-brainer, but director Patty Jenkins has yet to sign on the dotted line for Wonder Woman follow-up. While star Gal Gadot has an option in place for Wonder Woman 2 as part of her overall deal to appear in several DC movies, of course, Batman v Superman she's already appeared in, and Warner Brothers executives enlisted Jenkins for just one film, a decision that could end up costing the studio millions of dollars in Jenkins' reps to drive a hard bargain for her return. So they didn't sign her on to begin with, so now that Wonder Woman is a success, you can imagine Patty Jenkins is going to drive for top dollar on, yeah, you want me back? Yeah, you're going to have to pay big money.
Who's to say that they might not just, botch the whole operation, though, risk bringing in another director. Say, well, if our actors brought this much, we could just nix the director, bring in someone else. Who's to say that's not the approach they won't try to do?
It's tempting. It's tempting. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of negotiations going on, of course, in the next little while, because they're going to want to get the ball rolling on Wonder Woman 2, no doubt, because it's a huge success. It's biggest success.
I've heard very little criticism about the film itself. I have yet to see it. I'm behind catching them, but
same.
Just in general, I've heard very little criticism, nothing but praise. So I'm definitely looking forward to catching that real soon.
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest hit DC has had so far. So that's really encouraging and really exciting, and I can't wait to see it myself. I haven't had a chance to see it just yet, like you, but it's going to be awesome. And what we got next, Thomas?
Well, it's looking like Freeform is currently looking to, what would you call it? Bring to North America a series currently in the United Kingdom.
Right.
Misfits. It's currently set to be helmed by Diane Ruggiero Wright, who previously worked on iZombie and Veronica Mars. Cast right now is looking like Ashley Lathrop as Alicia, Trey Hall as Curtis, Jake Kenevow, if I can get that out, as Nathan, and Ally McDonald as Kelly. Ruggiero Wright will serve as the showrunner, and should go to remake the whole series more or less with Fake Empires, Josh Schwartz, and Stephanie Savage executive producing alongside the original show's creator, Howard Overman. And I personally have not heard of this UK series, or not much as not heard, I should say. I have not seen. I've catched a few UK series that have gone on to make their way into these native lands of ours. Top of the list of that one is Shameless, and not exactly the most appropriate for our listeners.
Right, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of series. I mean, most famously, The Office was a UK version,
and you had
the American version. Yeah, I don't know which one came first, to be quite honest, but I know there's two versions of The Office. Ricky Gervais is in one of them, and Steve Carell is in the American version.
Oh, wow. Well, I just learned something today. Huh.
Yeah, so if you like The Office, there's actually two. That's got to be weird, though, because I've never been a fan of a show that has two different versions or reboots. So that'll be interesting to have a whole nother show to go and watch and kind of compare. So pretty awesome. So next up, we've got fans of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. I know I am. Should be really excited about this. Tala Ash, I'm assuming that's her name. I probably butchered that name. I'm sorry. Has joined the cast of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. She will be playing a Muslim hacktivist, Ari Adrian Tumaz, from the year 2030. According to the character description, Zari lives in a world of contradictions. Technology has brought about incredible change in her future. Too bad human nature hasn't kept pace. Fear, prejudice, and lack of care for the planet have forced Zari to become a gray hat hacktivist, quote-unquote. As Zari lives her double life, she has no idea that she possesses a secret, latent powers derived from an ancient mystical source. So, Thomas, do you happen to watch DC's Legends Tomorrow?
No, actually I haven't. It's been recommended to me time and time again, but I have yet to actually pick up the series personally.
Well, I'm gonna again recommend it for you. I highly recommend it myself. I've enjoyed it a lot. It's wacky, it's crazy, but it's really fun, and especially if you love the Arrowverse, the Arrow and the Flash. It's a really fun series because it ties all in with that. And the last season was really crazy, and you had basically all the villains from Arrow and Flash basically going up against the Legends, and it ended in a kind of a crazy place. I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody, of course, but be interesting to see. Of course, they're going into the future, and with this woman, so we'll see how that turns out. I'm looking forward to it.
Up next, we got some out news with Al Pacino. He's set to play Joe Paterno in an HD film about the scandal that went down at Penn State. The project will chronicle Joe Paterno's fall from grace after Jerry Sandusky scandal at Penn State. Barry Levinson will serve as an executive producer alongside frequent collaborator Tom Fontana, as well as Jason Sosnoff, Ed Pressman, Rick Nacita, and Lindsay Sloan. Deborah Kahn of Grey's Anatomy, John C. Richards of Nurse Betty, and David McKenna of E-Ring are playing the script, and Sony Pictures is producing. I actually grew up in southern New Jersey, and right now I currently live in an area we fight over what part of Pennsylvania it's actually considered. But I live every bit of 15 minutes away from a Penn State campus. And one
Cool.
thing I know about the whole scandals that have gone down with Sandusky, Paterno, and everything, folks from around this area, they kind of want to bury it. They want to pretend it never happened,
I can imagine.
with good reasoning, of course. I have the feeling that well, that's probably one reason it's an HBO film. It's kind of suppressed from the screens, but I have a feeling that this sort of thing has potential to, I guess you could say, kick up a lot of ruckus locally. We'll certainly see what happens, and I will more than happily alert the listeners of what's going on with that.
Yeah, I'm sure, it's going to be interesting to see how, because things like this gain traction. You just, like last year, you had a big thing. I can't remember the name of the show, but it was about the trial of, I'm forgetting his name, O.J. Simpson. And that, of course, dug up a lot of old memories and stuff like that. But, hopefully they'll do it as justice and kind of tell the true story of it, and maybe shed some light on it, because I remember that very vividly. It was just a few years ago. I'm sure people that were in the area probably do not want to watch this, but at the same time, it could be interesting to kind of get the full story and understand the context of what happened. So yeah, it's a bad story, but it could make for a good film. Who knows?
What I am not actually all that familiar with is HBO's track record of telling these sorts of stories, whether they're huge on a national, international scale, what their track record is of keeping things strict to the text, to the facts. I know they've done everything from, well, look, they're doing this local Penn State thing. They've done things all the way up chronicling Saddam Hussein's rise in power and fall.
Right. Yeah, they do all kinds of things, and to kind of and it's interesting that Al Pacino is playing the part. That's going to be interesting. You've got some heavy talent there to play the part, so it should be entertaining. Hopefully they won't Hollywood it up too much. Hopefully it'll stay true and tell the whole story, which should be interesting. Next up, and I teased this off the top, of course, you got Universal's Dark Universe, which is coming up, and there's a lot of stuff happening with this. As you said, The Mummy is coming out this Friday. So if you want to get up to speed on this big new universe, literally, that's coming, you might want to go see The Mummy. Even if you don't like it, it still is going to lead into things, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of teases about what's to come. So we got some new instruments, of course. There's a bunch of movies that have been announced for this new universe, and they've added 2 more just recently. And the report states director Alex Kurtzman released 2 new titles planned for the Universal's Dark Universe. While talking to Fandom, Alex Kurtzman listed a string of titles the studio plans on making, including Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and The Invisible Man. He also announced 2 new films that will be added to the roster, which will be based on the classic stories of The Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame, respectively, I should say, Phantom and Hunchback. So the only other Hunchback of Notre Dame film that I am aware of is the Disney version, and I'm sure there's been several different versions of the Phantom of the Opera. That's kind of a classic there. So I don't know. This sounds very interesting. They're kind of getting a lot of the classics in there. They're bringing back things that I was not expecting, and bringing back a lot of really old classic Creature from the Black Lagoon. I don't remember the last time they remade that movie, so I'm looking forward to seeing who they want. And shout out to my other podcast, IPC. We talked about this a few weeks ago. We've got apparently Javier Bardem is playing Frankenstein's monster. We've got Johnny Depp playing the Invisible Man. I think The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is up for possibly the role of the Wolfman. So who knows what else is going to be added to? But they're really growing this really thing, and I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly, my thoughts exactly. It's looking like just callbacks to all the classics, and being a person who loves, what comes from the past and seeing new ways to retell these stories. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Right, exactly.
So next up, we have some news regarding Donald Glover. He's actually saying goodbye to his musical alter ego, Childish Gambino. Soon the Huffington Post reports that the Redbone singer announced this past Saturday at the Governor's Ball in New York City that his next album will be, his last. I'll see you for the last Gambino album, is what he said at this performance. And during the event, which was to promote the FX show Atlanta on Monday, Glover actually told the press that he's ending his musical career because he just doesn't find it necessary anymore. What do you think about that, Ben?
It's interesting. I think, Donald Glover seems like he's everywhere these days. He's, of course, cast as Lando in the Han Solo film that's coming out next year. Yeah, exactly. He's in Spider-Man: Homecoming in a still undisclosed role, from what I understand. And is a big-time actor. He's getting up there, and I think he just wants to. Sounds like he just wants to get some focus and get some context on what he's doing. It's funny, for a while, I didn't even know Childish Gambino and Don Glover were the same person. It took me a while to figure that out, which is crazy. But he's really got a huge fan base. But I think, as he puts it, in his little quote here, he says, there's nothing worse than, like, a third sequel, like a third movie, and we're like, again? He said, like it's when something is good and when it comes back, there's a reason to come back. There's a reason to do that. So I think what he's trying to say is, like, just let it rest for a little while, and I think maybe he'll be back. You'll see Childish Gambino make a comeback at some point. Then it'll be a big deal, of course, because we all know, you build up the hype and then you release it again. So it's gonna be good. And he's got a lot of stuff going on. I'm sure he wants to kind of put the music to the side and have that be a thing, and then focus on his acting, because he's also an incredible actor too. And of course, we're all looking forward to Lando, his portrayal of Lando in the Han Solo movie next year, which is going to be great.
It's news to me that he has a role in the upcoming Spider-Man movie. That's actually news to me. Do you say that's undisclosed up to this date?
I don't think we know for sure. I think he's a villain. I think, like, there was of course, up until they cast Tom Holland, everyone was going after him to play Miles Morales, and I think he's a little too old to be playing that. And of course, I don't think that's going to be the character. He's shown up in the trailers a couple times, so who knows? I mean, he's in the MCU as some other character. Hopefully, it's a big character, because I love the MCU and he's a great guy, so I would love to see him have a bigger role in there. So I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe we'll be hearing it. We might hear it soon enough. I mean, that trailer's being pushed real hard in the theaters right now. So who knows?
Right. Just about I was at the movies the other day seeing Pirates, and there it was. And it's not too long until we actually see Spider-Man: Homecoming. So really, really exciting. Switching gears a little bit to Stranger Things. because that's coming out later this year. We got Stranger Things 2 or Season 2 or whatever they're calling it. Of course, everyone was just crazy, the cultural phenomenon that was Stranger Things. And we've got, of course, we had a big cast list come out a few months back, and now we've got some interesting details about a certain character. And of course, you know Sean Astin from The Goonies and Lord of the Rings and a ton of other things. Well, he's back. He's in Stranger Things Season 2. And we've got some new details on his character. The creators of Stranger Things actually let this slip. It says Sean Astin was set to have a major role in Season 2 of the hit Netflix series Stranger Things, and the creators have now broken the silence on his new character. While chatting on Variety's remote-controlled podcast, the Duffer Brothers offered quite a few details regarding Astin's role and how he fits into the world of Stranger Things. I quote, "He's a manager at Radio Shack, and he's dating Joyce. He's a sweet guy. I think Sean, more than anyone else that came in this season, completely shaped his character. It was probably, on the page, the least interesting and not specifically meant to be as important of a role as it ended up being. What he brought to the performance was completely elevated, and it inspired us as we wrote. We were able to evolve his character as we went along. He just ended up being so great." So Sean Astin is actually, being the great actor that he is able to mold the character into something even bigger than the creators first considered. So that's really exciting. And going back to kind of the 80s nostalgia, Radio Shack. Now we're in an age right now where Radio Shack is kind of a thing of the past. I can't really find a Radio Shack around where I live.
There was just a franchise that closed right around the corner for me, maybe not even 2 weeks ago. That was the last one in the area, I think.
It's so sad because, like, even when I was growing up in the 90s, I mean, they're a thing. Up until a few years ago, they were pretty prevalent, but they've slowly gone down. But now Radio Shack is, they're missing out on that ad revenue. Now their Radio Shack is going to be all the rage. People are going to be asking, "What's Radio Shack?" When they see it in Stranger Things. But yeah, I'm excited for this. Stranger Things was just a massive hit and something nobody expected.
Well, we're coming to the finish line of our news for this evening, and the last thing we have for the folks out there is a couple pieces of Star Wars news.
Star Wars!
We're all always happy to hear that. First up, something that might be a little bit upsetting to the fans of us from North America once more.
Jealous is what it always makes us feel.
That about sums it up, my friend, and that is that The Last Jedi's UK release date has yet again changed. It was previously announced it was going to be December 15th in UK, just like all the rest of us.
Right.
Well, now what we're hearing, Lucasfilm's now reporting, is that the film in England is going to be releasing one whole day early, premiering on December 14th, whereas the rest of us are going to be getting The Last Jedi, in North America that is, the following day on the 15th. Are you jelly, Ben? Because I'm pretty jelly, bro.
I am so jelly right now. I'm pointing you can't see it, but I'm pointing my finger at all you Englanders over there. You people across the pond, keep your mouth shut. No spoilers. No spoilers. No sirs and ma'ams. No. Because you've got a good head start on us. You know what? More power to you. Glad for you guys. But we're jealous, and we better not hear any spoilers. I don't want to hear, Luke died. No.
What?
But by the way,
what did you say?
I just made it up. I promise.
It's confirmed Luke dies. Oh, no.
Oh, boy. I'm just going to make headlines tonight.
We're making alive.
News. We're making news on the nightly news. Yep, it happens. It's happening tonight. Oh, boy. Yeah, but we should probably we should probably head towards the exit now because I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. Okay, so a couple more stories before we head out for tonight. The Star Wars show, which is Lucasfilm's weekly little YouTube show, they announced today that a brand new gameplay trailer for the upcoming highly anticipated game Star Wars Battlefront 2 will debut this Saturday, June 10th. The trailer will be revealed at 3 p.m. Eastern at EA Play, and it will debut. The debut will coincide with a previously announced Assault on Theed live stream event, which will happen at 4 p.m. Eastern, an hour later. So, and they also revealed a really, really awesome, really, really beautiful picture, a screenshot from the game on Theed. Did you see this, Thomas?
Oh yeah, man, definitely. I make it no secret. I wasn't a fan of Battlefront 1. Not many of us were. A lot of us felt cheated compared to what we wanted. We went in having high expectations. Yeah. Battlefront 2, I have a feeling it's going to do some redemption for EA based off what we received before. And although I'm going to probably say that I'm most likely not going to be pre-ordering it, I will pick it up at some point, and I am looking forward to its release.
It's looking like, I mean, all due respect to that previous game, it looked awesome. If I'd had a chance, I would have bought it and played the heck out of it. But it was a game that was kind of plagued with problems from the beginning and didn't have a lot of the content that we were hoping for. Was this one? We were asking for prequel content. We're getting it. We wanted a campaign. We're getting it with this game. We wanted, sequel trilogy stuff. We're getting it. This game is really turning out to be something, and they're opening with a prequel thing. It'll be a 40-player, I believe, match. They're going to have some Twitch streamers and some YouTubers there mixed in with the crowd, and they're going to be playing against each other in Theed, which is on Naboo, with clones versus droids, which is awesome. Like, especially if you guys, all you prequel fans out there, this is something to really get excited about. So definitely this Saturday, keep your eyes open. And of course, I'll go shout out to our friends at the Star Wars Underworld for giving us all our Star Wars news, of course. And then you can, of course, keep track of that and keep track of Channel 1138 because we'll have the trailer out as soon as it debuts that day, and it's going to be awesome.
The last chunk of news that we have for this evening is Colin Trevorrow is promising that there's going to be an emotionally resonant end to Star Wars Episode 9. He spoke with Screen Rant just recently. He's promoting his new film, The Book of Henry, and he spoke that the support team he has at Lucasfilm, they're promising a finale that's certainly not going to let us down. And quote for quote, it's the promise of Star Wars began way back in August of 2015 when I looked at what JJ and Ryan had done. And I'm very fortunate that I'm surrounded by some really, really brilliant producers and brilliant creative minds. Kiri Hart and the Lucasfilm Story Group, and my producer, Michelle Rajwan, and Kathy Kennedy, and also JJ and Ryan. Larry Kasdan, I mean, these are the best minds available, and everyone's always engaged in making sure this is the most satisfying and emotionally resonant conclusion that we can possibly deliver. How do you feel about that, Ben? How are you feeling about that?
I do not envy Colin Trevorrow in the least because he's got quite a job on his hands, and a lot of people are doubting him right now. As far as like how we can do this, because this is a big deal. It was a big deal from the start, from the moment he was hired. The end of a trilogy is a big deal, but now you have the added pressure of no longer having Carrie Fisher. And apparently Episode 9 was going to be all about Carrie Fisher, or at least was going to feature her a good amount. So it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult. And like I said, I don't envy these guys for when they put. I have full faith in them. A lot of people are not totally on board with Colin Trevorrow, especially some people just don't like Jurassic World. I'm one of the people that enjoyed that film, and I feel like I just have to trust these guys that they know what they're doing, and they've been planning this for quite a while. But they've got a few years left to actually put this into play. We've still got the Han Solo film after Episode 8, and then in 2019 was when we'll be getting Episode 9. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm still looking forward to this film, but it's gonna be really hard without Carrie.
Is Episode 9's release date set for May or December? Because
I don't know the exact.
Our next film we're getting is a December film, but then the Han Solo movie is coming out in not even 6 months after.
Right. We're going to have literally within the next year, we will have 2 Star Wars films, which is insane. Just crazy. So, yeah, and then we'll have episode 9 right after. So, the next year in May. So, that's going to be, but I think we've reached the end of our notes. We've reached the end of the news. There is nothing else to talk about,
Hey, we
Thomas.
survived.
We survived. Second edition. I tell you what, guys, the pressure was on to make this happen tonight, but I'm so glad we came through. We gave you guys the news. Hope you guys enjoyed it, of course. Check us out online. Of course, channelwoman38.com is the place you want to be for everything. We got 24/7 music going all the time, shows almost every single day, and it's going to be awesome. So be sure to follow us at Channel 1138 on your social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. And of course, check us out. Check all our shows out. Star Wars Underworld, Star Wars Wastelands. I should mention Star Wars Wastelands coming up next. So do not touch that dial or mouse or whatever you're using. Just don't touch it. Stay right here, and you're going to have an awesome show because Star Wars Wastelands always delivers with an awesome show. They're coming up right next after we sign off. They're going to have trivia, news, all kinds of stuff. They're really great guys. And, maybe someone familiar will show up on the show. I don't know, me. So that, I guess, will you be there too? Yes!
I will. Uh-huh.
Yes! Okay, the whole band's getting back together. So yeah, definitely tune in for that. Of course, you can find this show and all future shows up on our YouTube, Channel 113. Just search it. You'll find it. And, of course, each of our shows every week is going to be awesome. Of course, we have a Monday show. What day is this? Wednesday and Friday.
Sir, it's Wednesday.
Yes. It's been a long day, people. A long day. But we're so glad each and every one of you could join us. Thank you, Thomas, for joining me. And thank you all for listening. So, for Thomas and myself, may the Force be with you.